Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is the Makerfire Armor65 Lite. It's 65 millimeters. It weighs almost 25 grams. The flight controller is running SilverWare, features 7x16 brush micro motors, an 800 TV line 25 milliwatt camera and VTX, PH20 connector for your batteries. Comes standard with this little remote, but I flew it with my FrSky X Lite radio, which has the iRange X multi-protocol module. Comes with one 300 milliamp 1S battery, a spare set of props, 3 extra screws, prop remover, a USB battery charger, and some stickers. The included radio does require 3 AAA batteries. As we start off on the flight, the first thing I want to mention is this has quite long flight time. The flight I show you is not a full battery draining flight. It is a close to full battery draining flight. It comes in at about 3 minutes and 30 seconds or so. Typically with a 300 milliamp battery, the ones that I recommend, which are included in the links way down in the video description, not the included one. The included one is serviceable. It will get you in the air, but it's just not a high quality battery. So if you're purchasing more batteries, I've got links to RDQ and GNB batteries down at the bottom. You can also go to tinywhoop.com and get the 333 1S batteries. Those will get you the absolute longest flight time for this little machine. But as I mentioned, we're going to see about 3 minutes and 25 to 30 seconds of flight, and that's not even a full flight. It's not uncommon for me to get almost 4 minutes or full minutes of flight in this. Something else that I learned, for those that are more experienced, if you're looking at this particular model and you want to experience something flying SilverWare, is that my rapid fire receiving module, I had to switch to legacy mode, or I got a weird vibration sort of image. Even though I didn't see it in the goggles, in the DVR, it looked like I had oscillations, but I don't think that's really where this belongs in the market. I think it was a pretty good idea for Makerfire to choose something with SilverWare, because with SilverWare, you don't have to worry about PID tuning, you don't gotta worry about any sort of setup. All you've got to do is follow their Wikipedia page, shows binding, as well as radio setup for various radios, whether you're flying an X9D, a Devo 10, what have you. It's all either pretty good as standard, or they've got instructions for it. It's pretty surprisingly in-depth Wikipedia page that they've got for this. So I was pretty happy with that, and I didn't have any troubles getting it set up and flying. Of course, I've been doing this a while, but also, I'm flying in acro mode, so where this package fits is probably for those people who have someone in their life that maybe you're already a pilot and you want to get somebody else started. Maybe you have a young person in your life. Maybe it's a spouse. Maybe it's just a buddy down the street. And for 50 bucks or $49.99 plus whatever they charge for shipping to you, you can get started with flying. Now, you will need goggles, and you're probably going to want more batteries. I already mentioned the batteries. They're in the video description way down below in that list of batteries that I recommend. I recommend a lot of batteries. And then a set of goggles. And I would say you don't want to necessarily, if this is your first quad, I wouldn't suggest going for a real high quality set of Fat Shark goggles where you're spending $500 or $600. I would say get something like the VRD3s, or maybe a step above that would be the EV800Ds. Those are some pretty good quality goggles as well. The EV800Ds have the ability to record your flights, so if you'd like to save them and rewatch them yourself to kind of diagnose what you're doing versus what other people are doing, or just to share, that would be the set of goggles I would recommend for those starting out. As you've seen through the flight, it flies pretty well, and that's kind of the magic of SilverWare. You don't have to really spend much of your time trying to worry about setup or tuning, and that's what makes this pretty ideal for somebody to get started. Of course, some of you, as I said, more experienced pilots may want to get into this on your own as well. I chose to use this flight because it shows you that this product is not only safe, I fly it around my children, but it's also durable. I crashed it twice during the flight, and I think that makes it a pretty ideal for someone to get started. We're going to start off with this image right here, and as you can see underneath the camera there on what's kind of the right-hand side, we have those 4 pads, and I think those 4 pads are how flashing occurs with this board, although I'm not sure how we would do that. So if you wanted to tweak this SilverWare setup, I'm not sure how you could do it. I would encourage you to go over to the SilverWare Discord and ask questions over there. I'm sure the people in that Discord will be quite active and probably are familiar with this, because Makerfire does mention Travis not fast enough on their page, so they're giving credit where credit is due when it comes to the firmware that they flashed on here. They list on their site 4 minutes and 20 seconds of flight time. You might be able to get that with their battery in a hover, but I don't really think you're going to get anywhere near that if you're doing any sort of flying. Of course, if you're starting out, you have 2 modes. It's got acro mode and it's got level mode or angle mode, so you don't have to fly with you making all the stick corrections as you go flying around whatever your flying space is. It will self-level, so if you have the stick centered, the machine will stay centered. You just have to control the throttle, and that will keep you in a hover. That's angle mode, where the flight controller does all the stabilization for you, versus angle mode, when you give it a little bit of direction, it stays in that direction until you correct it back. So if you go to the right a little bit, the quad moves like this, then you have to go back to the left a little bit to turn it back the other way or get it back to level. That's the difference between those two modes for the most part. It does require a lot more experience or a lot more patience to fly in acro mode when it comes to these little quads, but many people do it just as I did. The various buttons across the front here do a number of different things for us. Of course, this is our throttle, this is our yaw, this is our pitch, this is our roll. These buttons over here are kind of your fine tuning or your trims, as I would call them. And then the K9, as they have it listed in their manual, and the K10, this is for arming and disarming, and this is for your different flight modes to where you can choose between angle mode and acro mode. It's the same way if you set up a radio like I did. Also, if you have one of these and you don't find that thumbing is working out for you well, these pads do remove, so you could put something over the top, so you could do some pinching. Pinching is how I fly, and so you could just remove those and put some tubing on the top. We also would put nylon standoffs on the top to give us more of a pinching environment. This is a pretty small radio, so if you have large hands, that might not be great, and also the gimbals on this can be somewhat stiff. A hobby grade radio is going to be easier to fly pretty well, but this will get you started. It will get you to the point where you can decide whether this is something you want to pursue, or if it's just something fun and you only need this one, or if you want to get more serious and make it future investments into other FPV products. $49.99, this is a pretty good package to get you started or someone else that you might know into the hobby. You've got a machine here already ready to go to FPV if you want to go that route, or you can fly it line of sight just as it is. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in that section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.